Hey everybody. Today I just want to talk a little bit about shutting down LabVIEW applications. And this is not necessarily the one and only way of doing that. This is just how I usually operate. So, I mean, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, I usually like to have some sort of, let's say, conditional logic or some sort of check so that my shutdown behavior is different when I'm in LabVIEW versus when I have a deployed application. So this is one way. I'm actually going to show you two ways you can do that. So yeah, one way is this method where this VI is going to pull the call chain, and we are going to go and pull the first thing in that call chain, open a reference to it, and then here we're actually reading the application instance kind, which is basically, is this the runtime system or something else? So for example, if it is the runtime, well, we want to close the front panel and we want to shut down the LabVIEW instance, right? So this is one way to do that. And then if it's not in the runtime, meaning we're running this in LabVIEW in the IDE, I don't want it to close the front panel because, yeah, I don't want to have to reopen. If I'm like editing a VI and like testing stuff, I don't want to have to like reopen it every time after I run it. So don't close it. And it's also not shutting down LabVIEW as well. So this is one way you can do that. Another way you can do that is using what is called a conditional disable structure. So you can drop this down, you can add a subdiagram, and there's a couple default items. You can use runtime engine, set that equals to true. And now you can actually include whatever code you want really in here, whatever shutdown code. So I also could add like some of this front panel shutdown stuff as well. And then I also can create another case. And let's say runtime engine equals false. And let's make this one the default. And let's say this one just does nothing. So that's another way you can do the same thing. Guess let's delete this one. Okay, so yeah, that way, anytime this is in the runtime, this will execute. Anytime it's not, this will execute. So these are two ways to essentially do the same thing. So yeah, let me show you how that might look in an actual application. So, and this is going to depend on how your application shuts down to a certain degree. Most of my stuff, I usually use the Windows little, X in the top right corner to close applications down. So that's what I'm going to demo, but if you're doing a different way, you might need to just slightly adjust that, but it's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm just going to add a case for shutdown. So I just need to go to this VI, and I'm going to use panel close. So if you notice, there's two different panel close events. I only really use this panel close in like a dialog box or something like that, that I always just want to close. For like a top level VI, right? Like my main UI, I always use panel close. That way it's not going to close. I can shut it down in LabVIEW through the X, but it doesn't actually close the application down. But in the actual program that's like deployed, right, it will. So I usually use this filter event for that. So we've got basically a while loop now with this event structure, and I only have one case configured. Obviously you would have more than this, but that doesn't really matter for this demo. And then I'm going to pass a true into this discard. So we're always just discarding the action, and there's other ways to do that too. You don't necessarily always need to discard it. Again, this is just one way of many to do this. And yeah, let's take this guy, this little shutdown, and we're going to include this after the loop. So I'm just going to drop a little error constant here. I don't actually have any functionality built into this loop, so I'm just going to add that there. Oops. Sweet. So yeah, that would be the basic pattern, right? So the idea is now when I'm always discarding the panel close event. So clicking the X actually isn't directly closing anything at all. It's always getting discarded, but it does stop this loop from running. And then this VI here is going to check whether we're in LabVIEW or whether we're in the runtime, and it will close it if we're in the runtime. So, really pretty straightforward. So I can run this guy. It's running, and I click that, and it stops the application, but it doesn't close the VI. So, and I can also do this and replace with sub VI contents, just so you can see the whole thing. But yeah, the basic idea is we're just discarding this, and then this is checking whether we're in the runtime or not, and closing the window if we are, and killing LabVIEW. And if we're in LabVIEW, then just doing nothing. So, and that conditional disable structure I showed as well works the exact same way, just different logic. So it's really up to you. That's how I like to close down my applications. I kind of like this structure. It works really well for me. But yeah, just wanted to share in case that's helpful for someone else. Thanks for watching.
Canon Controls is your gateway to mastering LabVIEW. Dive into programming for data acquisition, industrial communications, and manufacturing automation. Explore how to enhance your projects with cybersecurity best practices. Join the journey to elevate your skills and secure your systems with every episode.